The stars were quiet. Lieutenant Caleb Ross sat in the crashed remains of his scout ship, holding his side where sharp metal had torn through his suit. Blood ran warm down his ribs, but he stayed calm. The radio was dead. The engine was smoke and scrap. His team gone, he was alone on an alien world. The air here was heavy and warm. The sky was dark purple, with two pale moons watching him like silent eyes. His boots crunched over cracked red stone as he limped away from the wreck. But he didn't make it far. They came for him, tall armored figures shining like steel giants surrounded him before he could even reach the hills. Their weapons were long, humming with blue fire. Their helmets hid their faces, but they moved like trained killers. No words, no warnings. They took him. Hours passed. He was dragged through stone halls, built into cliffs. Everything smelled like heat and metal. Deep inside the mountain fortress, he was thrown to his knees in a grand hall. Pillars of black iron rose to the ceiling. Alien banners hung like blood-red shadows. And there, at the far end of the room, sitting on a throne of blades and bone, was her, the Drelnari queen. Even seated, she looked powerful. Her armor was unlike the others, sleek, dark, and trimmed with glowing gold. Her helmet had long curved horns, and a cape of some living, shifting fabric flowed behind her like smoke. She stood and stepped down slowly. Each step echoed like thunder. The room fell silent. "Bring him forward." Her voice echoed from her helmet, sharp and smooth. Two guards lifted Caleb and pushed him forward. He didn't resist. He was weak, tired, and bleeding. But he stood tall. He was human. He wouldn't give them fear. The queen stood, just in front of him now, towering. Her helmet tilted slightly as she studied his face. "You are the one who fell from the sky?" she asked. Caleb nodded. "I'm Lieutenant Caleb Ross, Human Forces, Scouting Class. My ship malfunctioned." There was a pause. "You are small," she said coldly. He gave a tired smile. "You're tall." Someone near. The throne made a shocked sound. A guard stepped forward, weapon raised, but the queen raised a hand. "Speak freely, human," she said. He looked up at her, meeting her hidden gaze. She smelled of metal and something strange, like electric storms. "You're beautiful even." "In that armor," Caleb said. The room froze. Even the air seemed to stop moving. One of the guards dropped his spear in shock. Another whispered in the Drelnori language, something sharp and nervous. "Da!" But the queen just stood there, still, silent. Then slowly her helmet tilted again, and her voice came softly this time. "Truly human." Caleb shrugged. "I've seen many monsters in armor. You're not one of them." Again silence. Then the queen turned and walked back to her throne. She sat, calm and graceful. The room didn't breathe until she spoke again. "Take him to the guest wing. Treat his wounds. No chains." "What?" One of the guards hesitated. "But Your Majesty, he is the enemy." She raised her hand again. "No chains." They obeyed. Later, in a clean, quiet room, carved from stone, Caleb lay on a bed made of strange blue fur. His wounds had been treated by Drelnari healers, strange machines, and gentle hands. No one spoke to him. No one smiled. But they did their job well. He stared at the stone ceiling. What had just happened? He had called the alien queen beautiful. He didn't even know why. Maybe it was the pain. Maybe it was fear. Or maybe it was something else. Something in the way she stood, strong, proud, alone. He didn't understand these people. But he knew one thing: he was still alive because of her. The next morning, she came. The queen walked into his room like a storm entering a quiet field. Her armor hummed. The guards outside didn't follow her in. "You look better," she said. "I feel like I've been kicked by a starship engine." She looked around the room. "Our medics said you might survive. Human bodies are soft. But you're still here." He gave a small smile. "Thanks to you. I spared you out of curiosity, not mercy." Caleb sat up. "Still counts." She walked closer and sat in a chair across from him. Her armor made no sound as she moved. Her helmet was still on. "You called me beautiful?" she said. He nodded. "I did." "Why?" He paused, then answered, "Because. You carry yourself like someone who doesn't need to scare people to be powerful. You wear armor, but you don't hide behind it. That's rare." The queen was quiet. Then she spoke again. "You are a strange creature. I get that a lot." Stood, as if ready to leave, but stopped. Her voice softened. "Do you truly believe beauty can exist? In war form?" Caleb looked her straight in the eye of her helmet. "Yes, if the one inside it has a soul." The queen didn't answer. She turned and walked out of the room, her cape trailing behind her like shadow. The door closed. Caleb lay back on the bed. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But something had changed. Not just in her, in him too. The sun on the Drelnori world never truly rose. It floated low on the horizon like a dull flame, casting long shadows through the high towers of the fortress. It made the metal walls look red, like they were always bleeding. Caleb had now spent 5 days in the queen's guest wing. He was treated better than a prisoner, but not quite like a guest. Guards watched him closely, but they did not speak. He was allowed to walk in a small garden, if the stone-covered courtyard with thorny plants could be called that. But every day, the queen visited. She came alone, always wearing her full black and gold armor. Her presence filled the room like storm clouds. At first, she only asked questions about Earth, about humans, about war. "Why do you send soft-bodied creatures to the stars?" she asked once. Caleb had smiled. "Because even soft things can survive, if they're clever and lucky." The queen tilted her helmet, as she often did when thinking. "You are not the first human we've met, but you are the first who speaks without fear. Maybe I'm too injured." To care, Caleb had joked, but each day she stayed longer. Her questions slowly changed. Do human rulers marry for power or for love? What is poetry to your people? Have you ever killed someone with your own hands? Caleb answered everything. Honestly, she never interrupted, but sometimes he saw her fists tighten when he spoke of loss. She was still a warrior, after all. On the 6th day, she surprised him. She arrived without her cape. She sat down and did not ask about war. Instead, she said, "I dreamed last night, a world with oceans of light. Was that your Earth?" Caleb blinked. "Maybe we do have oceans and light. Your world feels clean," she said. "Not like this place it is, but it's also loud, crowded, and often full of pain. Just like yours, I imagine." The queen leaned back slightly in her chair. "Our people are bred for strength. We are taught to fight from the time we walk. Emotions are distractions. Beauty is weakness. Is that why you wear the helmet?" Caleb asked gently. She was silent. Then she said, "I wear it because my face is not what they want to see. They want their queen to be a weapon, not a woman." Caleb sat up straighter. "Back on Earth, some people said, armor hides the body, but reveals the soul." The queen turned to him slowly. "What does my armor reveal to you?" He didn't look away. Someone lonely. That made her freeze. She stood up and walked to the window. Her back was to him. "You speak. As if you can see inside me." "Maybe I can," Caleb said quietly. The queen didn't answer. But she stayed longer that day than usual. On the 7th day, the whispers started. Servants moved nervously around Caleb's room. The guards at his door stood stiffer than before. Something had changed. That afternoon, the queen returned. Her walk was faster, more tense. Her tone sharper. "You must be careful, human," she said, without sitting down. "There are some who see our conversations as weakness." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "I haven't even left this room. They think you've poisoned my thoughts, that I've gone soft." "Have you?" She stared at him, then said, "I don't know." She paced the room like a caged animal. "In our culture, rulers do not speak to prisoners. They give orders. They make war. They do not listen to soft-spoken men who call them beautiful. Caleb stood slowly. His side still ached, but he faced her. I'm not here to weaken you, Queen. I'm here because you let me live. And because I think there's more to you than a throne of blades. She turned to him sharply. And what if there isn't? Then I'll die knowing I met the strongest soldier I've ever seen, Caleb said with a calm voice. But I don't believe that's true. Not anymore. The room grew quiet. Then, for the first time, the Queen reached up to her helmets. Lolion touched the side near her jaw. Click, the armor hissed as it unlocked. With one smooth pull, she lifted the helmet off her head. Caleb stared. She was different. Her skin was a deep silver gray, like moonlight on water. Her eyes were large, sharp, glowing gold. Her cheekbones were high, her mouth firm. It's not human beautiful, but powerful in a way that made Caleb's heart stop. She watched his face carefully, searching for disgust, or fear, or lies. But all Caleb said was, Now I know why your people fear you. The Queen frowned. Because I am strange? No, he said softly. Because you're something they don't understand. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. She stepped closer. Do you fear me now? No. Do you still think I'm beautiful? Yes, this time. Her eyes softened. The battle light in them dimmed. She reached out and gently placed her hand still armored on his shoulder. You are not what I expected, she said. And you're exactly what I needed to see, he replied. For a few moments they stood in silence. Then a knock came at the door. A soldier's voice. Urgent. My queen, the High Council summons you. There is talk of betrayal. The queen's face hardened. She stepped back, placed the helmet back over her head, and the armor sealed shut once more, before leaving. She turned to Caleb. If I do not return, she said, no, this I regret. Nothing. And then she was gone. That night Caleb could not sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the door. He didn't know what the council would do to her. He didn't know if she would fight or surrender, or worse use, to silence him forever. He waited. Hours passed. No one came, but something inside him had changed. He no longer saw her as the alien queen or a warlord in armor. Saw her as a woman raised in chains of power, trapped by a throne, trapped by the fear of her own people. And still, she had dared to listen to him. Still, she had shown her face. The night was colder than usual. A thick mist crept into the fortress halls, rolling across the stone floors like quiet ghosts. Caleb sat near the window, his hands resting on the ledge. The moons above were hidden, and the stars had faded behind. Black clouds. He had not slept. His thoughts were on her queen. Virea. He remembered the exact moment she removed her helmet. The shine of her silver-gray skin, the fire in her golden eyes, strength, sadness. And now she was gone. The High Council had called her. That meant danger. In the Drelnari world, rulers answered to no one except the council of the old warborn. They held tradition like a weapon. If they believed the queen was weak, they would take her power. Maybe even her life. The door opened suddenly. Caleb turned, expecting a guard instead. It was Vieira, but she was not wearing her full armor. She wore only a simple silver suit of Drelnari silk. The cape gone, the weapons left behind. Her long black hair was tied back. Her helmet was in her hand. Her face was uncovered. You're alive, Caleb breathed. She gave a small nod. For now, he stepped forward, worried. What happened? She walked past him and sat down slowly. The council demanded I prove my loyalty. They want me to execute you. Publicly, in the central square. Caleb went silent. She looked at him. They say I've been touched by human weakness, and what do you say? Caleb asked. I say, they are not wrong, she whispered. He watched her closely. You could have ordered it already, he said, but you didn't. She stood and paced the room. Hey, there is something else. There was an attempt on my life before dawn. One of my own guard tried to poison me. Caleb's eyes widened. The council sent him. I don't know, but I suspect it. She looked tired in a way that armor could not hide. "I saved your life once," she said. "Now I fear. I may have destroyed my own because of it." Caleb stepped closer. "So what now?" "I don't know. If I follow their command, I keep the throne, but lose myself. If I disobey, I start a war among my own people." She sat again, her shoulders heavy. "Tell me, human, what would your kind do?" Caleb took a deep breath. "We would choose the right path, even if it hurts, even if it costs everything." She looked at him, searching his face for lies. But he was calm, honest. Then she said something unexpected. "I want to show you something." They walked together, down into the lower chambers of the fortress. Guards stepped aside, unsure whether to salute or raise their weapons. None dared. "Speak." Caleb felt their eyes on him like knives. But Queen Vera walked like a storm, proud. Silent, they reached a sealed door, guarded by 2 large Drelnari soldiers. She gave a silent command, and the door slid open. Inside was a quiet room, filled with memories. Armor stands held older suits, scorched, damaged, and stained. Wall screens showed battle footage. One side held glass cases with medals and war banners. Another wall was different. It held a collection of art, paintings, sculptures, writings, all made by her. "You did these?" Caleb asked, amazed. She nodded. "In secret, no one else knows this room exists." He stepped closer to a sculpture. It showed a Drelnori woman reaching toward the stars, her hands open, eyes full of pain and hope. "It's beautiful," said. She turned toward him. "I was not always like this. I was once a young warrior, full of fire and hate. But war, it breaks something inside you." She walked to a corner of the room and touched a small painting. It showed 2 figures standing under 2 moons. One Drelnari, one human. "I made this after our first meeting," she said softly. Caleb felt a lump in his throat. "You made this? For us?" "I made it because something in me changed that day." She turned to him. "I stopped seeing you as an enemy. I started seeing you as a mirror." He walked over to her slowly. "You're not alone in that," he said. Their eyes met. There was silence between them, but not empty silence. A silence full of words not yet said, feelings not yet touched. Then dash boom, the room shook. An explosion, they rushed out. Red warning lights flashed through the halls. Guards shouted in Drelnori tongue. Smoke rose from the east wing. "What's happening?" Caleb asked. Virea grabbed a nearby guard. "Status. An elite unit attacked the lower levels." "Dunked," guard cried. It was meant to look like a human escape attempt. "They're saying he tried to flee." Virea's eyes blazed with fury. "It's the council. They're creating lies to take my crown." Another explosion rocked the floor. Bria grabbed Caleb's arm. "Come with me now." They ran through back corridors, avoiding main halls. Fire rained from the ceiling. Vera's eyes scanned everything, calculating. She led him to the royal safe wing, a hidden chamber, protected by energy shields. Inside, medical bots and weapon lockers hummed quietly. Vera turned and activated a screen. The council appeared on IT-5 Elder Drelnari, with black robes and glowing eyes. "Viraya." The lead elder growled. "You have failed. You brought the enemy into our heart. Your weakness has caused bloodshed." She stood tall. "No, you caused this. You tried to kill me. You lied to the people. We are the people." The elder shouted. "You are fossils in armor." She replied, "Your time is over. You will obey. Execute the human now, or we declare civil war." Aria turned off the screen. She looked at Caleb. "There is no going back now." Caleb looked at her firmly. "Then go forward. With me." She stared at him. Then slowly she reached behind her neck. With a quiet hiss, the chest plate of her armor unlocked. One by one, she removed each piece of shoulder's arms, boots until only the undersuit remained. She looked smaller now, lighter, but her eyes burned brighter than ever. "I will not hide behind armor anymore," she said. "Let them see me." Caleb stepped beside her. "You're beautiful, even without it." Smiled, and this time, it was real, truly human. He nodded. Always. The fortress was burning. Black smoke curled into the skies, rising from the eastern towers. The people of the Draenori world gathered in the main city square, eyes fixed on the high screens and speaker towers. The council had spoken already, called it treason. They called it betrayal. They called it the weakness of a queen who had fallen under human influence. They wanted her removed, and soon. They would demand Caleb's execution in front of them all. Inside the royal fortress, Queen Virea stood in front of a long mirror. She was no longer wearing her armor, just a dark royal robe, light and flowing. The Draenori crest stitched over her chest. Caleb stood behind her, watching her reflection. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Yes," she replied quietly. "I do. You could run." He said we both could. Find some quiet world and vanish. She turned to him. "My mother ran. My aunt ran. They left power in the hands of old men with angry eyes. And this," she said, motioning to the fire and smoke outside, "is what happens. When you keep running." She walked to the window. "I was born to fight. But now, I fight for something greater than victory." Caleb stepped beside her. "What will you tell them?" "The truth," she said. The council demanded she appear at the Hall of Judgment, place older than the fortress itself, built into the rock cliffs high above the city. Thousands of Draenori citizens climbed the mountain paths to see it with their own eyes. Many had never seen the queen without her armor. Guards lined the stone bridge. The council waited inside, dressed in black robes and ceremonial helms. Virea arrived in silence. Behind her walked Caleb, also unarmed, dressed in clean Draenori cloth. Some threw stones at him, shouted, but others watched in silence. Inside the hall, the voices grew louder. Elder Varn, the tallest council member, stepped forward. His voice echoed through the stone chamber. "Queen Virea," he began, "you have broken every sacred rule. Kept a human prisoner inside our royal chambers. You disrespected the laws of Draenori power. Now your city burns from within. What do you say for yourself?" Virea looked at the crowd, then up to the high walls where many watched silently. Then she spoke. "My people," she began, "I have served you in war. I have led in battle. I have worn the armor of my ancestors, spilled blood for your safety, and crushed enemies who came for us." Some nodded. Others remained cold, but I was taught that armor is strength, that emotion is weakness, and that beauty and peace belong only to the dead. She paused. Her voice grew louder. "They lied." Gasps spread through the crowd. The council stirred. Whispering, Vera kept speaking. "This human Caleb showed me that there is more strength in listening than shouting, that a hand held out is stronger than a fist." She pointed to him. "He called me beautiful not because I wear armor, but because I dared to be myself under it." She turned to the council. "You asked me to kill him to prove my loyalty? But I tell you this, my loyalty is to truth, not fear. To peace, not power." The crowd grew louder. Some cheered. Some hissed. Elder Varn raised his staff. "Then you reject our command? You declare yourself above the law?" Virea stepped forward, eyes burning. "I do not stand above the law. Stand against the chains you wrapped it in." The guards at the sides moved, unsure what to do. Half of them looked ready to follow her. The other half waited for orders from the council. Caleb watched closely. The moment was coming. Elder Varn's voice grew cold. "Then your time is over, Queen." He raised his hand. "Seize her." The guards hesitated. For a moment. Then one moved. Then one stepped forward. Not toward Varan, but toward Varan. "I serve the crown," the guard said. "Not your fear." Another followed. Then another. The guards formed a protective circle around Vera and Caleb. The council screamed for order, but the people were speaking now. They were chanting her name. "Virea, Virea." Virea, her voice rose again, full of power. "I will not kill for your pride. I will lead for our future." She turned to the people. "No more lies, no more masks. From this day forward, the Draenori will not hide behind war. We will rise beyond it. The mountain shook with the sound of voices cheering. The council tried to retreat, but now even their own guards stepped away from them. They had lost the people. They had lost the queen, and most of all, they had lost the future. Later that day, Caleb stood on the palace balcony, watching the skies turn soft orange as the sun began to set. Vera joined him, still without armor, her face calm. "You've changed everything," Caleb said. "No," she replied. "You've helped me see what was already broken." He looked at her. "What now?" "We rebuild, we teach, we protect. But not by fear, by strength of heart," Caleb smiled. "And what about us?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "There are rumors now. The queen walks with a human. The queen speaks of peace. The queen speaks of love." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "Are the rumors true?" Maria stepped closer, her hand gently taking his. "They're just beginning." 1 year had passed since the fire in the fortress. 1 year since Queen Vera stood against the council, refused to kill an innocent man, and spoke the truth in front of her entire people. And now, the Drelnari world was no longer the same. The skies above the capital were calm. The old war banners were gone, replaced by new symbols of unity: a Drelnari star, crossed with the blue crest of Earth. Peace was not easy, but it was growing, in the center of it all, standing tall in a new white and silver hall, built for both. Species was Queen Viria. She wore no helmet today, no thick armor. Only a dark royal robe with gold trim and a soft belt at her waist. Her long black hair was tied with silver rings, and her glowing gold eyes scanned the large crowd before her. Drelnari citizens stood shoulder to shoulder with human diplomats, soldiers, and builders. The air was filled with curiosity, tension, and something new: respect. At her side stood Caleb Ross, no longer just a lost lieutenant. Now he was the human ambassador to Drelnari space. Trusted, respected, and still, deep in his heart, forever tied to the woman who had once been feared across the galaxy. Viria stepped forward and raised her voice. "We were born from fire," she began, "shaped by war. For generations, we believed peace was weakness, that emotion was a danger, that trust was for fools." She paused. "But then one man from the stars crashed into our world. A man with a wounded body, but an unbroken spirit. A man who looked me in the eye and called me beautiful Evan while bleeding." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Vera smiled. That moment changed more than a ruler. It changed a people. And now, for the first time in Drelnari history, we open our arms not to conquer, but to connect. She reached out and took Caleb's hand in front of everyone. "Let this day mark a new path." After the speech, the celebration began. Music from both cultures echoed through the grand hall. Food was shared, stories were exchanged. Soldiers from Earth and Drelnari played simple games, together hand slaps, memory tests, and even music contests. Caleb stood near the garden edge, looking at the twin moons. The light reflected off the new glass towers, soft and peaceful. Vera joined him. "You don't wear your armor anymore," he said, "only in battle. But these days there are fewer battles to fight. Do you miss it?" She looked at him with a calm smile. "Wore it for so long, I forgot how to walk without it. But now, I walk freely." Caleb looked into her golden eyes. "You once told me emotions were seen as weakness. Remember," she said. He touched her cheek gently. "And now," she leaned into his hand, "now I know they are the greatest strength we have." They stood quietly for a while, enjoying the peace they had built together. That night they returned to the royal fortress. It had been rebuilt, not as a place of fear, but of learning. The walls were softer now, no more sharp weapons hanging from every corner. Instead, art lined the halls. Children laughed in the nearby training courtyards, not learning war, but science, music, and diplomacy. In Vera's private chamber, the lights were dim. A warm fire glowed in the center of the room. Caleb removed his jacket, sat on the floor, cushion, and stretched his arms. "I never thought I'd live here permanently," he said with a tired smile. You were supposed to die here, Vera teased softly. But you're very hard to kill. He grinned. You helped. She sat beside him, close enough for their shoulders to touch. He turned to her. Do you ever regret it? Regret what? Choosing me? It's breaking the council? Changing everything? She reached out and took his hand. I only regret not doing it sooner. Caleb looked at her face, no mask. No fear, and felt something strong in his chest. Not just love. Pride. He had fallen onto this planet alone, afraid and ready to die. But now he had helped lead a world into peace, not by force, but by being human. A few days later, a message came from Earth. The United Human Command had reviewed Caleb's actions, his decisions, and his impact on the Drelnari, and they had made their choice. He was officially invited back to Earth to speak in front of the Human Council of Planets. They wanted him to represent the new Drelnori Alliance and share how he had done the impossible. But when the messenger left, Caleb sat quietly in the throne garden. Virea approached. You're leaving? She asked. He looked at her. I don't. Want to? But maybe I need to. Earth needs to hear this story. She nodded slowly. I understand. I'll come back, he promised. She sat beside him. They didn't say goodbye. Instead, she handed him a small black box. Inside was a ring, not gold or silver, but made of Drelnari stone, strong, dark, unbreakable. We don't do marriage the same way humans do, she said. But this means you belong. Caleb looked at it. Then I'll wear it forever. 2 months passed. Caleb spoke on Earth. People cried. Others stood and clapped. A story of how a human saw beauty in a feared alien queen and helped bring peace to a world on the edge of war became legend. Children read it in school, soldiers remembered it before battles, and leaders began to see that maybe strength wasn't just about weapons. 1 year later, a ship landed on the Drelnari Palace landing pad. The people stood and watched as a man walked down the ramp, wearing Earth Ambassador colors and a Drelnari stone ring on his hand. Vera waited at the bottom of the steps. No armor, no guards, just her. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Caleb stepped forward and held her close, still beautiful. He whispered. She smiled and whispered back, truly human. He nodded, now and always.